یارو دلبر و دلدارو ماه جهانارو میکشد عشق تو آخر سرمارو جانو سید و مولانا.
بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار المؤمنين وعجزت عن نعته أوهام الواصفين. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين وأبي القاسم محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. صدق الله العلي العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Tonight is inshallah, the 8th majlis in this series of majalis that we've been commemorating in reference to this year's Muharram al-Haram. And I have had the pleasure of being with all of you in all of these nights. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that with the grace of Sayyid al-Shuhada, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts our ibadat in these nights. Definitely we gather and we perform this great ibadat, and we come together in the spirit of doing an ibadat and service to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. The verse that I have been reciting from the very first night is from chapter number 89 from the Holy Quran, known as Surah Fajr. And I recited the last 4 ayat for you. If you remember that every night we've been doing a little bit of tafsir of these ayat as well. And last night I had talked about, very briefly, the concept of ibadat. And inshallah, the discussion tonight will be in reference to the last portion, which is Fadkhuli Jannati, in reference to the paradise. We find in the kalam of Sayyid al-Shuhada and in the lessons from Ashura, which has been the primary theme for these discussions, the real meaning of life. As to, in the kalam of Imam Ali والسلام, we find that when he compares this worldly life, Imam says, don't do any sort of transaction, deal with your life. In fact, there isn't any deal worth doing with your life in this world. فَلَا تَبِعُوهَا إِلَّا بِالْجَنَّةِ. Do not sell it except for the paradise. If there could be a price tag on your life, then that price tag has to be no less than Jannah, paradise. And this is the greatest maqam. There are different levels that are found in paradise. Some of us might say, well, I can care less all of the different levels there are. As long as I can make it to one of the lower levels of paradise, I am content and satisfied with it. But ulama akhlaq have given us the answer by saying, no, you won't be. Because when you look in this world, and we are divided with, different tabaqat, different ranks, different statuses, different levels, and everybody wants to be in that top level, while this world is, not close to as attractive as the, paradise will be. Definitely, when you are over there, you will yearn to have earned a status where you would have been at the highest of the levels, which is Jannatul Firdaus, masalan. So don't sell your soul for anything less than paradise. There's so much kalam in this, and inshallah, the discussion will come back as we get into the messages from Ashura. Tonight, the messages from Ashura are pertaining to life, that Imam ﷺ and his companions gave us a different meaning of life. There was one meaning of life for us, and how we lived our lives, how we looked at our life. And some look at their lives merely, their existence for, earning livelihood, earning food, earning a job, and getting to some sort of maqam, and then retiring and doing things which will be of satisfaction. But we find that this is merely a life of a machine, a machine, a robotic life, no more than that. And that is definitely not the purpose for which what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us. So first we need to understand the meaning of life. Life doesn't only mean breathing and being alive, and is not limited to this world. Ashura is a manifestation of depths of life and its essence. In Ashura, you understand the real meaning and the depth of life there is, and you understand the essence behind this life as to why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us. Now, Ashura answers many questions. What is hayat tayyibah? So even when you are in this life, make sure that this life is spent as tayyib, that which is pure, pak, something which is worthy of living. Hayat tayyibah, as Quran also mentions. Eternal life. What is in eternal life? Getting past death and reaching everlasting happiness. How does that happen? Prosperity. How do we gain that ultimate glory, which we refer to as prosperity, that honor, that personality, and that victory? Where are these things found? What is the criteria of life and death of an individual, and as well as a jama'at, congregation? What are the boundaries between humanistic life and animalistic life? All these years, we thought that we were living as human beings, yet we were spending a life of an animal. So these are some of the basic questions that we should be asking. And rest assured that Ashura and the lessons from Ashura, we can derive the answers for all of those things. The biggest question is, how must we live? Now, has anyone given us the criteria of how should we live? Western philosopher Nietzsche, he said that if our youth can understand why we must live, they will comprehend how we should spend our lives and how should we live. So if you're able to understand the why part of your existence, then you will be able to take care of the how part of your existence. If you can figure out the reason behind and the purpose behind your creation in your life, then you'll know how to spend it. Then you'll know how to live it. As the atheistic mindset in the societies that we live in, where people believe that there isn't any hereafter, you're here in this world for some time, you'll die, and you'll leave this world, and you'll be buried, and there'll be it. There's nothing beyond this life. So when you give this sort of concept to someone, that there's nothing beyond it, they're going to be careless, they're going to be heedless, they're going to do things um, without any accountability for the hereafter, because they don't believe in it, that nothing will happen. A person was arguing. He said, you pray all these salat 5 times a day. You fast in the month of Ramadan, deprive yourself of eating and drinking. You do all of these ibadat. What if none of these things matter tomorrow? This scholar gave a very beautiful answer. He said, there are two people, you and me. I spend my entire life doing this ibadat, and you spend your entire life not doing this ibadat. We both die. If no question is being asked, then I don't lose anything. All of these ibadat that I did, and all of those ibadat that you did not do, we're both equal, because nobody will question us. That's one half of the scenario. But what if someone did ask us? Then what are you going to do? So at least I have my back covered. At least I perform my portion of it. If nobody questions us, then we're both equal. But what if someone does question us, that these things were obligatory upon you and you did not perform it? What is your answer? And what is your backup plan? What is your plan B? At least I have a plan. So we're both equal from that aspect, if someone asks or if someone doesn't ask. It doesn't hurt me today to be obedient and to perform this ibadat, to spend portion of my life dedicating to that source, to that power which is above and beyond me. Quran also says, يَعْلَمُونَ ظَاهِرًا مِنَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَهُمْ عَنِ الْآخِرَةِ هُمْ غَافِلُونَ. That they only know the superficial realities of the worldly life, and they're unaware of the life to come, which is the most important part. I've given examples. I may have given example in other majlis, because I'm reciting another majlis after this one, but I'm assuming that I have given examples of the transitory phase of this life, like how this life is like a train station, like an airport, where you're not there forever. You're there in a transit, that you want to go through it quickly and get to your next abode. Life is spent with hereafter in perspective is a life well spent. If you spend your life knowing that there is a hereafter, that there is going to be a tomorrow, question and answers, there will be a place of reckoning, then that is a life which is well spent. But if you spend a life without that understanding, then indeed that life has been wasted. Real life is that one which is spent with good deeds. Life without actions is not really a life. Life with actions, not just life. Make sure. Umre amali, na umre zamani. We just don't want to have a umre zamani ke, we live for certain years. No, umre amali. We want to have a life which is spent with actions. Imam Hussein said the following before he was leaving for Karbala. He said, Inna hadhihi dunya qad taghayyarat wa tanakkarat wa adbara ma'rufuha falam yabqa minha illa subabatun kasabat al-ina'i wa khasisu 'ayshin kal-mar'a al-wabil. Such harsh and strong words coming from Imam. He said, Inna hadhihi dunya qad taghayyarat. Indeed, this world has changed. وَتَنَكَّرَتْ وَأَدْبَرَ مَعْرُوفَهَا. And you have turned away from righteousness. تَنَكَّرَتْ. Nothing is left from it. Maybe some in the very bottom. Like the water which remains after someone has drunk, from the vessel, and whatever that little water that remains in the bottom that sometimes does not get, drunk, and you throw it away. So you have this vessel, you have this bottle, You have this cooler, you have this, I don't know, anything in which you store water. You drink water from it. You've seen these water coolers, there's water, and then there's water on the bottom. That water usually never gets drunk. And that's usually what? It's never drank and it's thrown away. So Imam is comparing that nothing is left from it, from this world. So much it has changed that you've turned away from righteousness, that nothing is left except from that which is in the bottom, which is useless. Like the water which remains after someone has drank in the bottom of a vessel, and which is usually thrown away. And then look at the next example. And like the grass which has been eaten, if animals have grazed over a grassy area, they've eaten from it. You let go of these animals who live off of, grass. They feed off of grass. Let them chew, eat, and then once they're done eating, just look at that area. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, كَعَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ, that as if it was a chewed up food. That's how Imam is comparing this world with. So you can make right decisions and you can make wrong decisions. The decisions are in front of us. That's the beauty of this life that God has given to us. That He says, إِمَّا شَاكِرًا أَوْ إِمَّا كَفُورًا وَلَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ, that we have guided him to the right path, to our path. Now it's up to you. إِمَّا شَاكِرًا أَوْ إِمَّا كَفُورًا. Either you could be grateful, that means you are making the right choice, or kafura, or you're ungrateful, that means you're making the wrong choice. So there were people in Karbala who had made right choices, and there were many people in Karbala who had made very, very wrong choices. You remember the mu'amila of Imam Hussein with Ubaidullah ibn Hurr Ju'fi. This man came out of Kufa when he heard about the conflict. He came out of the city Kufa and he, camped outside of the Kufa so that he's not part of this whole ordeal. Imam went to him and Imam said to him that I'm giving you da'wat to come and be part of my army. He said, Imam, I don't want to be part of this civil unrest. He's looking at it as a civil war because they're both Muslims on either side. He said, I would rather remain neutral, but I'm with you, so you can take my sword, you can take my dira, you can take my horse, you can take my resources. Imam ﷺ said, we are not in need of any of these things. I am offering you paradise. I am offering you a place in Jannah. And you're trading it with your worldly belongings. Then Imam told him, he said, if you've decided not to come, then get so far away from this place where you can't hear my istaghatha, that tomorrow when I say hal min nasirin yansuruna, and you heard it and you did not come for my nusrat, then Allah will hold you accountable. So this was a bad decision by who? Ubaidullah ibn Hurr Ju'fi. Even the people of Kufa, they made a very bad decision. Intikhab bad. Why? When they pledged allegiance on the hand of Muslim ibn Aqil, and then when Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad came in, threatened all of these people, they got scared. They sold out. They let Imam Hussein be by himself. They did not fulfill their vows and their commitment of writing those 12,000 letters to Imam. They were scared of their lives. That was a bad decision. So in life, sometimes we make right decisions. Thankfully, some of the decisions that we've had to make in our life were not really that critical. But in your life ahead, as youngsters, you will have many decisions that you need to make. And the fact that you know that many of your decisions that you have made, you regret. And ask your elders who have had the opportunity to make decisions for the longer period of time, for almost 50, 60, 70 years. How many decisions have they made which they regret that they should not have done it? They will say, yeah, many. We made many wrong decisions and we regret doing it. When you regret doing something, that tells you that your aql is not absolute. It's not complete. It's not, like an aql of a ma'soom, which cannot go wrong. So the fact that you have made mistakes tells you that you are in need of, someone's support. So don't make wrong decisions in life. Ubaidullah ibn Hurra Jofi. That's one bad example. The Kufans at large, what they did, that was bad example. But we see Intihab Sahih, the right choice, made by Zuhair ibn Qayn. Zuhair ibn Qayn is someone who is going on his way back to his home after having performed the obligation of Hajj. And he's traveling back. He sees that Imam Hussein is coming along. So he distances himself from Imam Hussein. He does not intentionally want to run into Imam Hussein. He was a very wealthy man, a businessman, a merchant. So he was camped a little bit further away from Imam Hussein. It was a long walk back from Mecca to Iraq. So he was camped away from Imam Hussein. There were only a few rest areas that you could really stop where there was water available. So people made those stops. Just like today, when you're traveling on a big highway, you look for those rest areas where you can, stop for a little bit, especially if you're in a long drive, 8-10 hour drive. You want to stop somewhere to take rest. So this man, Zuhair ibn Qayn, he did the same thing. He was stopped over there where other people were stopped, but he camped a little bit further away from Imam intentionally. Imam sends a letter to him. Not a letter. Imam actually sends someone physically to go ahead and invite Zuhair to come and see me. I want to meet you. This man comes, tells Zuhair that Imam Hussein, he's not camped too far away from you. He has asked for you. He wants to meet you. Zuhair said, okay, you go ahead. His wife tells him, what are you waiting for? He's like, I don't want to go. Because if I go, it's possible that he will ask me, because he was aware of what was Imam Hussein is going through. And, I want to stay away from this conflict. I don't want to get into the history of Zuhair. He was very close to the third caliph in his good books. And there was a lot of conflicts in his earlier life, especially in the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So he was away. But then his wife told him, go listen to Hussein. What does he have to say? You don't have to accept what he says, but at least don't turn down his request to see you. Go meet him. You're a free man. You don't have to, oblige to anyone. You're not answerable to anyone. So go ahead and listen to what he has to say. So you've done your itmam hujjah, then come back. Zuhair goes. He goes, he speaks to Imam Hussein for a little bit, and then he comes back. When he comes back, he says to his wife, you can pack up. I'm freeing you of my, being my wife. You are free to go wherever you want to. All of my wealth and belongings are yours. I have, given all of these, they used to carry all of the sanad for different things that they owned. All of these asnad, they are yours. I will sign it for you. And you're free to go wherever you want to. And I'm going to stay here with Hussein. She's like, what happened? What transpired? What transformed you? A moment ago, before I had to push you to go see Imam Hussein, you were reluctant to even go see him. You just went and came back, and now you're completely different. You're like, you can go ahead and I'm going to stay with Hussein. What happened? Does Imam Hussein have a magic wand that he struck you with? Like Hazrat Musa had this staff, this asa of Musa? He said, no. Imam Hussein showed me the reality of life between these two fingers. I was looking at it from a different lens. Hussein showed me from a different lens. That's sometimes is an issue with us, that we're looking at life from a very, very different lens. If you want to see something with clarity, you've got to remove these goggles, these colored glasses from your eyes. Someone said, I only see red. He said, really? I see all the colors. He said, I only see red. I don't see any of the color. And it's because your eyes are covered with red goggles. That's why you don't see the reality. Some people see the reality, some people are unable to see the reality. Imam Hussein showed him that reality. Remember the event when our fourth Imam, Imam Zain al-Abidin was performing Hajj, and one of his companions in the plains of Arafat, and he saw the huge crowd of Hajis. He said, MashaAllah, Imam, this year so many Hujjaj have come for Hajj Baytullah. Imam said, Ma akthar al-Dajij. No, there are not too many Hujjaj. He's like, no, Imam, look at all of these Hujjaj. This place is packed. I know, because I go there every year and I see the plains of Arafat are packed. Because that's one place from Zawal of 9th of Zul-Hijjah till the sunset. Every single Haji has to be in Arafat. You can't be anywhere else. That is wajib wuquf, because in the other wuquf, you could be there or you're not there. You could be in one part of it and for one portion of or the other. For example, in Muzdalifah, a lot of people only do the istirari part of it and then they go to Mina. Some people stay there, which is the wajib wuquf is very little, which starts from Salatul Fajr and it's there until sunrise. So that 1 hour, hour and 15, 20 minutes long. So a lot of people spend that time, they pray, and then they start walking towards Mina. Because, to walk towards Mina is a long walk. And by the time they arrive, it is sunrise. But Arafat is one place from Zawal till sunset that every Haji who has gone for Hajj is there. At that point, nobody is in near the Baytullah al-Haram. Nobody is in the Masjid al-Haram. At that point, nobody is doing the Sa'i of Safa and Marwa. There might be people doing, but they're not performing Hajj maybe. Those are local people. At that point, no one is in Arafat, Muzdalifah or Mina or anywhere else for that matter. Everyone is present in the plains of Arafat. That's why we know that if you want to pinpoint where's Imam of our time, once every year, Imam is in the plains of Arafat every single year. Imam performs Hajj every year, Imam of our time. And that's one place that Imam is present from Zuhr until sunset. That's one place that someone can say definitively that Imam is present there. Of course, we're unable to see him. So fourth Imam, he said, no, there are not too many Hujjaj. There are a lot of noisy people. They're making a lot of noise, but there are not too many Hujjaj. He said, Imam, I see all these people. Then Imam showed him the reality between the two fingers. He said, look through this lens. And then when he saw the reality, he said, I saw a lot of animals. And amongst those animals, there were few, humans, few Hujjaj. Majority were An'am, bal hum adal, and few of them were humans amongst them. So that's going back to Zuhair ibn Qayn, who made a good choice. He said, Imam showed me the reality of life. And he then became someone who said, if my life is sacrificed 70 times and I'm brought back to life again, I will not leave you, O Hussein. So he made the right choice. We know Hazrat Abbas and his family and his brothers, they're brothers of Imam Hussein. But still, it is possible that someone would say, well, Shimr came to them and he wanted to give them immunity because of the relations that he had through his mother, through the mothers of Hazrat Abbas and Hazrat Ja'far and his brothers. Hazrat Abbas responded by saying, La hajata lana am fi amanikum. We don't have any hajat and need of your security. Amanullahi khayrun min aman ibn Sumayya. Aman of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is better than the aman and the security of the son of Sumayya. So take it away. Go, leave. We don't need it. So here we understand the right and the wrong choices that we make in our lives. I'm moving through it quickly so that we covered all of these, and I know there are not many more lectures left. Tomorrow's lecture, and then the day of Ashur, and then maybe a couple more after that. So I have to go through this whole process of it so that I can get all of these messages across as quickly as possible. This life is what? Is a constant struggle. Constant struggle in life. You learn that from the Sayyid al-Shuhada. I've repeated this kalam. Imam said, Inna nas abidu dunya. People are the slaves and the servant of the وَاللَّائِقُونَ عَلَىٰ أَلْسِنَتِهِمْ. And deen is merely just their utterance from their tongue, no more than that. يَحُوتُونَهُ مَا دَرَّتْ مَعَيِّشَهُمْ. They only worry about to the extent which is related to their earnings, as opposed, just as much as I can earn, whatever benefit I can get from it, how much money I can get from it, how much gains I can have. And a lot of time we are too, sort of giraftar, occupied with these sort of mentalities, with things that are happening around us. Then Imam says, فَإِذَا مُحِّسُ بِالْبَلَاءِ. But whenever someone is tried in their life, قَلَّ الدَّيَّانُونَ. You find very few of them to be what? مُتَدَيِّنِينَ, religious, as similar to what we find in the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Ankabut. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسِ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. That do people believe and they do gaman, that they feel that they will be left alone? The fact that they have said, we have brought iman, that would be enough for it? No. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسِ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا. That they've said iman, they have brought iman, and that is enough? He said, no. You will be tried, because people before you were tried as well. So this life is a constant struggle. Don't try to run away from it. Every single person will be tried in this world. Kalam of the Holy Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says that إِنَّ الْبَلَاءَ لِلظَّالِمِ عَدَبٌ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِ امْتِحَانٌ وَلِلْأَنْبِيَاءِ دَرَجَةٌ. That everyone is tried. Nobody is spared. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put you through a trial. You will be tried by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fact that you are mu'min does not mean that you will not go through this trial period. You will. Everyone will. So will you. So don't try and run away from it. The fact that you are Nabi, you won't be tried? No, you will be tried, even if you are a Nabi. If you're mu'min, you will be tried. If you're a zalim, you will be tried. So, well, yeah, that makes sense. If a zalim is tried, that's true. Prophet said, Inna zalima, inna al-bala'a lil-zalimi adabun. But there's a reason why Allah tries different types of people. When He tries an oppressive, unjust individual, it is for ta'deeb. It is to teach a lesson. It is to, set him straight for the mistakes that they have made. It may come late, but it's still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts them through a trial. Eventually, there's an end to the, the things that they have committed, the perpetrators of these crimes. So they're tried by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the trial means that Allah is trying to teach them a lesson. But when mu'min وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِ امْتِحَانٌ. But for mu'min, it is merely an exam. We have so many exams in our life. From the beginning, when we go to school, we are going through exams. When we get through our middle school and high school, we have exams. We get to college and universities, we still have exams. We graduated from there, we still have exams. So there's exams all around your life. You keep on giving these exams. He said, for mu'min, it's just an imtihan. It's an exam for you. No more than that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not trying to teach you a lesson. That lesson is for zalim. For you, it's just a trial. It's just, an exam that everybody faces. So don't be shy of it. Don't say, well, why is it coming after me only? Why it's not going after someone else? Everyone is tried. You only see your struggles, but there are people in the world whom you may think that they're millionaires and billionaires and they're living the real life, as they call it in America, the American dream. I don't know if there's such thing like Canadian dream. And they're living their life to the fullest. They're enjoying it. Even with their enjoyment, you see, not that I want you to see, but you find that there isn't any longevity. All of these stars, these celebrities, they end up dying early. They die in their 30s, in their 40s. And they die out of overdose of this, overdose of that, caught doing something like this. Shameful way of leaving this world. Or committing suicide, for that matter. What good is this life where you have all the possessions, where you can spend on anything that you want to, gain anything that you want to, but you don't have control over your own harakat or hasanat, things that you do? So everybody's tried. Even the Anbiya, Allah did not spare them either. وَلِلْأَنْبِيَاءِ دَرَجَةٌ. But why are the Anbiya tried? I understand if a zalim is tried because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to set him straight. We are tried because it's part of the life cycle and we have to go through it. But why are the Anbiya tried? وَلِلْأَنْبِيَاءِ دَرَجَةٌ. Not all the Nabi are at the same level, are they? Among the 124,000 Nabi that Allah has sent, some are only bringing the news. And then amongst them are some who are Nabi and Rasul. That alongside being Nabi, there are Rasul as well. And amongst those Rasul, there are those who are Sahib Shariat. And amongst those Sahib Shariat, Rasul, there are those who possess a book and a doctrine with them. And amongst those Sahib Shariat who have a book are those who have been associated with a divine religion, like Christianity, like Judaism, and like Islam. And then amongst those who are Sahib Shariat with a book and associated with a divine religion, those who are Ulul Azm. There are only 5 of them. And amongst those 5 Ulul Azm, there's only one Khatim al-Anbiya, the seal of the Prophet, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. So there are different ranks, there are different levels. The Prophet of Islam has the highest of the ranks. He's Sayyidul Anbiya. Nobody's equal to him as far as the ranks are concerned. And then we look at all the other Ulul Azm Anbiya. Amongst them is Ibrahim, Nuh, Isa, Musa, and the Holy Prophet. These 5 are those Ulul Azm. They're the top 5. But then you have great prophets like Yaqub. The children of Yaqub, you have Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. The children of Hazrat Ibrahim, Ishaq and Ismail. And then we forgot about Hazrat Adam, Abul Bashar. All of these are great Anbiya, but they're not all at the same level. So Anbiya, they are put through trials. And when they are put through trials, what happens? Darajatun. They gain some sort of daraja out of it. The more you're tried, the higher your daraja is. The higher your rank is. And that actually holds true for us as well. That the more we are tried, we are more beloved of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have you heard someone said, poor guy, he's always, covered and surrounded by difficulties. Someone died, a family member passed away, his father died, his mother died, his brother died, his children, for example, someone died, he lost his job, he lost this, he lost that possession. All of these things are lost. And we feel pity for those people, right? Don't. Well, it's good to sympathize and then to help them, but don't feel pity in a sense that they're lower than you. No, they're actually higher than you in ranks. Because the more that Allah tries you, the more you are higher in ranks. Look at the example of Prophet Ayub, Job. For 17 years, Quran mentions that he was tried. And he wasn't tried because, there was that Allah had to try and put him through some sort of trial. Rawayat mentioned that Shaitan told Allah that the only reason Ayub is propagating is because he has everything. He was a very wealthy man. He had his own farms. He had his own livestock, animals. He had, a perfect family. He had children. He had a nice house. He was enjoying the life. So when he's enjoying the life, he's going to continue to do the tabligh. The moment you take away these things from him, قَلَّتْ دَيَّانُونَ, right? What Imam Hussain is saying in this riwayat that I just recited for you. فَإِذَا مُحِّسُوا بِالْبَلَاءِ قَلَّتْ دَيَّانُونَ. When they're tried with some difficulties, you find very few to be mutadayyinin. Imam did not say there are none who are mutadayyinin. He said very few mutadayyinin. Very few are religious. Hazrat Ayyub is one amongst those. So Allah said, we'll give it a test. You think that Ayyub will give in after we have taken everything from him? Okay, let's put it to a test. The oppressor king took away the fields and the farms of Hazrat Ayyub. He confiscated. And then his land was burned down. His children, the roof fell and they died. Hazrat Ayyub himself developed an illness that there were asar of it on his face, that people would turn their face away from his face. They won't even look into his eyes. They won't even look at him. That personal defect or illness that he developed, that people won't even look at him. I don't want to use the word that he's become ugly, but that's what had happened, that people won't even look at him. They would be kirahat. His wife stayed with him. That's a sign of a good wife. He stayed with him with all the thins and thicks of life. You lost the wealth, you lost children, we lost our house, everything is taken away from us. You have developed this illness. He still continued to propagate. He did not let go of it. فَإِذَا مُحْرِسُوا بِالْبَلَاءِ قَلَّتْ دَيَّانُونَ. When they're tried, there are few who are still on this path. 17 years. So Hazrat Ayyub could have said, okay, this will go away. Few years, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. 17 is a long, long time. Many of us will give up in 6 months if something like this happened to us. If we don't recover in a few years, in a couple of years' time, from having lost family, having lost our livelihood, having lost our belongings, we'll give up in this religion. I hate this religion. I don't want to be a follower of this religion. And then you start hearing these words. God is not just. Na'udhu billah. Why is he treating me like this? What have I done? What's my mistake? Everybody commits sins. Is it because of that I've committed these sins that I'm being tried like this? We give up right away. We throw in the towel. We start blaming God. That God has done this to me. God has done this to me. I have lost all hope in God. I've lost all the hope in this religion. Brothers, believe me, I get so many calls in this way. These young men and women, they would call because they're going through some sort of struggle in their life, that they've lost hope in religion. They don't even believe that there is existence of God anymore. Someone who was brought up in religious family, but because they went through some tribulation in their academic area, right away they lost hope. And many examples of such. How do we so quickly lose hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Hazrat Ayyub was tried for 17 years. He said, well, he was Nabi. So he wasn't tried, with something small like you and I are tried with. He was tried with extreme trial. Just look at it. Ayat the Quran mentions it. I don't need to go in details as I'm running out of my time anyway. So Imam said the same thing. He said, people are slaves of the world. Religion is only, stuttering or the word of their mouth. That's it. And they worry about it as long as it cares for their aish, their livelihood. But if they're tried in this life, there are only few who remain religious. Let's be millat, let's be a nation which is zinde, which is alive, which is not dead. Imam says, فَإِنِّي لَا أَرَى الْمَوْتَ إِلَّا سَعَادَةً وَلَا الْحَيَاةَ مَعَ الظَّالِمِينَ إِلَّا بَرَمًا. I consider death and martyrdom to be prosperity. Nothing but prosperity. It is sa'adat for me if I die in this way. And the life with oppressors to be what? Humiliation. لَيْسَ الْمَوْتِ فِي سَبِيلِ الْعِزِّ إِلَّا حَيَاةً خَالِدَةً. Maut is nothing, death is nothing in the path of izzat. If you die with nobility and with izzat, it is what? Hayatan khalida. It is an eternal life. A hayat which is khalid, which is forever. Even though you're dead, but you're alive forever. Same thing what Imam said. That I don't see anything except in this death in this way to be except but sa'adat and prosperity. But if I have to spend a life with these zalimeen under their rule, then that's nothing but oppression, that's nothing but humiliation for me. So I don't want to live that life. Zindagi bimarg, life without death. You can attain such a place that your zindagi is bimarg. Even if you die, it's without death. Hazrat Zainab salamullah alayha, she was standing in the darbar of Yazid, and he was speaking to her in a very derogatory tone, and he was saying things which he did not even know what he was saying. He was drunk. He was playing with a stick and hitting on the face of Imam Hussein, the head of Imam Hussein. And he was saying to him that, look how I have taken revenge of my ancestors from Badr and Uhud. I wish they were here to see my achievement today. This is for them. This victory I dedicated to them. So he told his initial and his ultimate, perspective of this war. And so he was thinking that you are humiliated, your family is humiliated, you have lost, nothing is left from you. You're now made into captives. That's it. You're going to die under this captivity, and I have achieved the glory. The response of Janab Zainab, salamullah alayha. She said, Fakid kaidak, was'a sa'yak, wa nasib juhdak, fawallahi la tamhu dhikrana wa la tumitu wahyana. Janab Zainab said, do whatever you can. Plan as you wish. Manipulate as much as you want to. Nasib juhdaka. Your hardship, your try, whatever it is that you can do, give it all that you want to. Fawallahi, by God, la tamhu dhikrana. You will never wipe out or wipe off our dhikr and our remembrance. Wala tumitu wahyana. And you will never be able to destroy our wahi and our revelation. Look, after 14 centuries, how true is Zainab salamullah alayha. La tamhu dhikrana. How we remember Zainab every year, especially in these ayyam. We remember her all year long, but especially in these ayyam. How we remember Sayyid al-Shuhada, how this commemoration takes place, even though we are taking this is taking place, in a very unprecedented way this year, but still we're not giving in. We're not giving up. We still are performing what we believe is our duty. She said, La tamhu dhikrana. Our dhikr will never stop. There will be people who continue to commemorate and mourn for us and revive our teachings. So you think you have done something? Do all you want to. She could have just said, Fakit kaidak, and then gone to Fawallahi la tamhu. Plan as you wish. Allah, by God, you cannot remove our dhikr from the hearts of the people. She emphasized, Fakid kaidak, was'asa'ayak, wa nasib juhdak. Use all you can. Every resource that you have available, use them all. You will never be able to remove our dhikr. That's not going to happen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has promised that. Prophet has already predicted. Have you forgotten? Yes, you don't believe in the Prophet. Prophet already predicted, Inna liqatl al-Husayn hararatan fi qulub al-mu'minin la tabrudu abadan. With the qatl of Hussein, there's harara, there's this energy which is found in the hearts of mu'mineen, which will never die, which will never end. This energy will always remain. I want to stop over here, as there are many other lessons from life. This was life without death. You might die, but your death is not really any death. You're still alive. Our apparent death is nothing but our life, as long as people remember us. So that's the real glory. That was the real challenge, what people were unable to see. And Janab Zainab Salamullah Alayha, through her kalam, is trying to remind people. A lot of people questioned Imam Hussein. If you're going, go by yourself. Why do you have to bring your family with you? There are reasons behind it. Imam Hussein could say, the reason I'm bringing my family is because I'm doing ta'assi. I'm following the footsteps of my Jad, the Holy Prophet. Remember when he stood in front of the Christians of Najran? Prophet did what? He brought his family. I'm only following the footsteps of my Prophet by bringing my family along. So don't blame me for bringing the family along. And secondly, Shair has said, Hadith ishq do babast, Karbala wa Dimashq, Yiki Hussein rakam kard, digari Zainab. This hadith ishq, it has two sections. One was written by Hussein ibn Ali. The second portion was written by Zainab bint Ali. And without the presence of Zainab and Kulthum and all the other women that are present, this would have been an incomplete task. But Imam Hussein had to give a lot of qurbani. He had to give a lot of sacrifices, which he was ready for. But can you still imagine giving the sacrifice of your own flesh and blood in front of your eyes? When all of the ashab had gone, one after another, the ashab had presented their life and they had, sacrificed themselves for Imam Hussein. It came the turn of Jawanan Banu Hashim. Someone might raise a question, why did Imam keep his children and his family in Banu Hashim after ashab had died? Easy. Because in Karbala, the longer you stayed, the more you suffered. The sooner you went, the easier your task was. The sooner you died and you attained martyrdom, sooner your test ended. The longer you stayed, the longer you suffered. Just imagine the suffering of Imam Hussein. Ajrukum Allah. May Allah give you no grief, no sorrow, except the sorrow of Ahlul Bayt, that Imam has to see his son Ali Akbar die in front of him. When his son came, oh my father, give me permission. Imam said, Taqaddam waladi. Oh my son, you have my permission, go. But before you leave, go ahead and make sure that you bid farewell to the women who owe a great deal to you, who have raised you and who have some sort of leverage over you. make sure that you go ahead and pay attention or bid farewell to them. He comes, he wants to bid farewell to Zainab, Kulthum, if Layla was there, to her, to all the women that are there. You know what they used to say about Hazrat Ali Akbar? He was a representation of the Holy Prophet. He was a manifestation of the Holy Prophet. His surat, his sirat was same as the Holy Prophet. Imam Hussein himself said, Allahumma ashhad, baynana, oh Allah, be witness, baraza ilayhim ghulamun, that upon them your ghulam is going, who's what? Ashbahun nasi bi rasulik, who's the most resemblance who has with your Holy Prophet. How? Khulqan wa khalqan wa mantiqan. He's the closest as far as his akhlaq, as far as his sirat, as far as his surat, as far as his shakl, as far as his face, as far as his mantiq and speech is concerned. And when we were mushtaq didar Rasul Khuda, we would look at the face of Ali Akbar. So all these women are looking at the face of Ali Akbar and bidding farewell. He wants to come out, but someone pulls him back in. Ravi says, I saw that Ali Akbar was pulled back a few times. And then last time when he wanted to come out, someone pulled him back from his, shirt. That means there was someone who was younger than Ali Akbar over there. He said every time some lady would have pulled him back from his shoulder, but last time someone pulled him back from his shirt, it must have been his sister, the young 4-year-old sister of Ali Akbar. He comes out, he bids farewell to the women. Imam prepares him for this ultimate sacrifice. Then Imam tells him one thing. He said, Oh Ali Akbar, make sure when you are going towards Maqtal, you continue to look back at me. Turn around and keep looking as you are making your way to the Maqtal. Ali Akbar, who was so excited to go to the battlefield, he had finally gotten the permission to go ahead and do what he had come for. And he was eager to show his valor and his bravery. In the midst of all of that, he forgot to look back at his father. And as soon as he started making his way to Maqtal, he heard that someone is coming behind him. He turns around and he sees his old father, 57-year-old Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, who's stumbling and he's coming after. Ali Akbar stops, comes down from the horse, picks up his father. He said, Oh my dad, oh my father, you had bid farewell to me. Why are you still coming after me? Imam responded, Oh Ali Akbar, if you were sahib awlad, if you had children of your own, you would understand why am I coming after you. Both father and son wept for a while. Then Imam bid farewell to Ali Akbar. He went towards the battlefield. He showed the bravery that he had, that I am the student of Abbas. I have learned firsthand from Abbas. This is the time for me to show that what am I made of. Ali Akbar fought with many of these ashqiya. He killed many of them, but because of the heat and because of the zira and the heaviness of it, and because of the thirst and the hunger, having not eaten and drank anything for 3 days, Ali Akbar could not bear it. He wanted to come back. He came back to his father and he said, Hal min sharabin, oh my father, is there anything to drink? Imam Hussein wept and he said, how unlucky is your father that a son is asking for drink of water and he's unable to provide for him. Oh Ali Akbar, go back. Soon you will be quenched. Your thirst will be quenched. Your grandfather will quench your thirst. Ali Akbar comes back to the battlefield and then he starts his battle once again. He announces who he is and then enemy realizes that this is not an ordinary person. We cannot fight with him one-on-one or we all will be soon dead. They start attacking, circling around him. They attack him from all different directions. They throw whatever they had in their possession. Some threw arrows, some threw other different things that they had in their possessions and swords. And eventually Ali Akbar was struck so much that he fell from his horse. As soon as he came down, he did not want to bother his father because he had seen that every time one of the companions would fall, they would call for the help. Ya Aba Abdullah Adrikni. Ali Akbar said, I don't want to bother my father. Instead, he said, Ya Abati alayka minni salam. Oh, my father, my last salam to you. He did not ask Imam to come. He just bid farewell to him. Imam hears the last words of his son. He rushes towards the battlefield. He picks up his son, who had just been struck with a dagger onto his chest. And Shimr sat on and he struck this dagger in the heart of Ali Akbar. Ali Akbar was hiding it with his own hands so that Imam doesn't see. Imam removed his hand to see there was a dagger that was stuck in the heart of Ali Akbar. Allah. Imam picked up his son, put him on his knee, and he said, Oh Ali Akbar, do you want me to pull this out? He said, Yes, Mawla, please pull it out. He had a little bit of ramak of life left in him. Imam Hussein, just imagine when you are hit with something, when an arrow goes through, it pains, but when it's pulled out, it's even painful. And similar is the case with the dagger that is in the heart of Ali Akbar. Imam is making this effort. I'm sure Imam must have looked towards Najaf and he would have addressed his father, Ya, oh Ali, oh my father, Ya Abati. Pulling this dagger is more difficult than lifting the gate of Khaybar. Ali Akbar's dagger was pulled out by Hussein, but not just the dagger, the heart also spilled out. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Allah, please accept our ibadah night. Allah, we've committed a lot of sins. Please forgive our sins. Tawfiq and ability to learn from these lessons from Ashura and apply them in our lives. Allah, hasten the reappearance of our awaited Imam and make us amongst the helpers and the soldiers of Imam. Wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alamin.
یار به طلب سید و مولا به طلب خستم آقا به علم دار به طلب یار به طلب سید و مولا به طلب